I like challenges, so I picked this up from FB Marketplace for 40 bucks. Come check this out with me. Looking at the sticks, they are both trash. Someone tried to get into this thing. I'm not sure if they did or not. I can see some crumbs or dirt in this area. I hope this is like smush food or something, not dead skin. I wonder how the sticks and buttons work. The seller explained the left stick was the only issue. Testing this on my computer, both sticks don't work. The left and right bumper aren't recognizing. Left trigger has this weird resistance. And the right bumper works perfectly. Disassembly link in description. To remove the faceplate, I'm going to jam this pry tool in the corner here and then pop it. And then I take my other pry tool and work it around the faceplate. It's already gross. Now I take the sticks and the pad off so I can remove the faceplate. I like putting the stick back on so I can use it as a twist tool. The stick bases are screwed in, unlike the non-Elite 2 controllers. I use needle nose pliers and microfiber to break the left stick free. Cool, now I can remove the 6 screws that hold the back chassis in. The closer my camera gets, the grosser this thing looks. I mean, there's this piece of hair. It just shows how things become so disposable in this day and age. You buy something this expensive that's marketed as a Supreme controller, and the company that designed this, Microsoft, which is one of the biggest companies in the world, couldn't even do a proper QC. It doesn't make any sense unless their scheme was to have you buy additional controllers. Alright, enough of that rant. To get to the joystick modules, I need to desolder these wires. There are 8 in total. I don't know what this white stuff is, whether it was solidified liquid. I have no clue. I didn't check schematics, but looking at this, I think these 2 wires are for the dock portion on the back and the battery. The bottom red and black wires are for the rumble motor. Alright, now to the next side, gotta do the same thing. Those wires are out, and then bam, and boom. Now to the Bluetooth antenna. Alright, I just need a whoop. I'm using the wrong tweezers. Oh, there we go. Yeah, powerful. More leverage, more leverage. Bah! There are 2 screws left holding the main board in. Now I can take them out since I got the wires off. Now I'm taking the Bluetooth wires off their track. I like to be delicate with things such as these wires because I have no idea where to buy these online. So it's best to take your time and be patient. All that's left is to remove the board. On to the next board. Put this audio/mic jack in a safe spot. Now to remove the 4 screws. I forgot to record the last screw being unscrewed, but I swear, it looks the same as these. I take a spudger and lift up on these 2 areas to remove the bumper buttons. Just gotta shimmy this thing. Alright, cool. And then I'll tap out the rest of the buttons. Oh, the board release too. Whoa. Now to put the membranes and the buttons in a safe spot. With the controller disassembled, I'm going to jump back to the main board and clean up these solidified areas with isopropyl alcohol. Shh, you hear that? Oh. Yeah. Oh. With the main board cleaned up, I'm going to focus on the L and R switches. Flipping the board over, I can get to the points that I need to desolder. I start by laying down some flux. 2, 3, 4, and then I add solder to the points. Did I get you? That was just me making those sounds. And then I'll bring in my desoldering gun to see how much solder I can get off. Is it working? Kinda. Let's try something else. I'm gonna add some flux, and then I'm gonna try using low melt solder. Low melt solder has a low liquidity point. When added to solder, this will lower the average melting point of said solder, which means these points will stay liquid for a longer amount of time. What I'm saying is, if low melt solder is applied to these points, you'll be able to wiggle the through-hole device off. Here, let me show you. Time to clean up these holes with my desoldering gun. Cool. Throw some isopropyl alcohol or IPA on this, cotton swabbing it, and heading over to the next one. Applying some flux. 2, 3, 4. Time to add low melt solder. Runaway blob. This happens when the solder on the board isn't hot enough to absorb the low melt solder. Heading over to the last 2 points, adding some low melt. All right, this one worked a little bit better. Wiggling this guy from the other side right now. Wiggle, wiggle. And it's out. Grabbing my desoldering gun, get this low melt solder off. Time to douse this thing with IPA and swabbing it up. Brushing it off. Nice. Here's the old switch with the new replacement. All right, let's install this thing. So push it through, add some flux on each one of the points, and then apply some solder, not low melt solder. All right, it's looking good. Applying pretty well. I'm leaving the heat on for a while, and that's so I'll show you in a second. I want it to travel through and meet the joints on the bottom of the board. As you can see right here, that's what I mean. And I can do the process again by pushing it through, adding flux, and add some solder. Doing the first joint will give the button switch some stability, which will hold it against the board like it originally was on the other one. Now to the third joint, and then the fourth one. Nice. And then add some IPA, brushing it off, checking if the solder made it through to the other side. Oh yeah, it looks good. With that finished, I'm going to jump back over to the main board, flip it over, and mark the spots I need to desolder. Yeah, there's a lot on this one, but I can't remember all of them, so I got to make sure to mark them. Time to add some flux. If you want this flux, I'll put it in my description. I've used a lot of flux in my time doing this, and this is the one that stuck with me the most. Time to add low melt solder to every marked point. Now, if you watch me here, I'll end up holding my iron and wiggling a bit. Now, what this does is it helps the low melt solder travel down because of the heat and mix with the solder that's already on there. Personally, to me, this is good practice. After every point has low melt solder on it, I pick up my hot air station here, and then I just go around the board in the area until I can see the solder liquefy, and then pull it out. And then I clean everything up with my desoldering gun. When you do this, it's never perfect, so there can be at times some spots that have solder in it, and you have to reflow it and then remove it. So I'm just using my desoldering pump to do that when I applied new solder to each point, and then put IPA on it and then brush it off, and it looks good. Now to apply the new component. Get it flush with the board. Nice. Add some flux. Whoop, whoop. Oh, gotta use that little extra. But I'm only tacking down a few. This is to keep the component flush with the board so I can use my other hand to flow the solder into the joints. Put flux everywhere else. Yep. Fluxing around. More flux to go. Bam. I reflowed these points because I felt the device wasn't flat enough on the board, and then I went around and just fed solder into each hole. I did hold my iron for a while on each joint just so the solder would flow to the other side. As you can see here, it looks good. Time to clean it. I got a paper towel under, got some IPA, brushing it off. Oh, some more IPA. Looks like this flux has solidified. It's driving me crazy. Scraping it off. More IPA. All right. It feels so much better. It's time for the other joystick. Oh, let's do some magic. And bam. Now to just clean it up with some IPA and a brush. Looks good. Another thing I have to fix is this wire here. Whenever I open an Elite controller, this always happens. Majority of the connections are there, so I'm not even going to solder it. I'm just going to take this heat shrink, cut it to size. Cool. Then just make it travel down carefully. Cool. Now take a lighter, heat shrinking it. Awesome. And then I'm just going to place it back in, push this tab back down, push this wire back in, and I'll go and reassemble this really quick. Let's see the results. This project came out amazing. It's gorgeous. I love this thing. It came out so good, you know, with the additional mods on it. If you liked this video or I helped you out, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for more videos like this from me. Thanks for hanging, and I'll see you in the next video.